Chapter 2796, I'll call them Dad. Chapter 2796, I'll call them Dad. In Elder Wu's eyes, it was only bickering between two girls, but Feng Wu smiled bitterly. I'm getting back at her for destroying my true phoenix blood. Is that serious enough? True phoenix blood? Elder Wu had heard about the incident before, but he didn't know it involved Zhuo Qingwan. Recalling how frustrated Zhuo Qingwan was, Elder Wu realized what had happened. He patted Feng Wu. Try not to be on your own from now on. Hachoo! Chen Ziyan sneezed. Only then did Elder Wu realize that there was someone in the cesspit. He was surprised. It was a major oversight for someone of his capability. Seeing that Chen Ziyan wanted to come out, Feng Wu immediately said, "Help me dig something out, and I'll make you a spiritual king." Chen Ziyan didn't believe her. To do that, he would have to bury his entire body in the feces, and he wasn't going to do that. However, Feng Wu was telling the truth. Out of all the places, Little Phoenix had to bury the thing in the cesspit, because it was where the essence of the spirit stone worms was. Wait, Elder Wu cried out. These are very precious. However, the spiritual essence has been absorbed by something else. What happened? Chen Ziyan looked at Elder Wu. Is that really possible? Elder Wu nodded. I think you should try. Chen Ziyan stared at Feng Wu. There will be consequences if I can't find anything down there. When he finally found it, Feng Wu came back with a large bucket of water. Water was difficult to find in a place like this. The smell was suffocating, and Chen Ziyan immediately poured the water over his head to wash himself clean. He sniffed at his clothes, but the smell was still there. He felt like crying. Feng Wu gave him some deodorant. That finally got rid of the stink, and Chen Ziyan let out a breath of relief. Meanwhile, Feng Wu had cleaned the box. It was only the size of a basketball basket. She opened it to reveal a porcelain bottle with a thin neck and small bottom. It wouldn't hold much liquid. Little Phoenix dashed out of Feng Wu's sleeve and started drinking from the bottle. Whoosh! It stopped after taking 3 gulps and handed it to the cub. The cub was confused, but it took the bottle obediently and took 3 gulps like Little Phoenix before handing it back to Feng Wu. Little Phoenix said, "Don't disturb us for a while." The bird and the cub disappeared after that. They went back to Feng Wu's ring space. They went as fast as they had come, and Chen Ziyan didn't have time to react. He hadn't seen Feng Wu's pets before and was intrigued by them. They've gone back to cultivate. Next time they come out, they'll be spiritual kings. Feng Wu held the bottle and smiled at Chen Ziyan. Chen Ziyan found her words idiotic and didn't really want to talk to her. Why did she make turning into spiritual kings sound so easy? He stared at her and asked, "Do you know how hard it is to become a spiritual king? Do you know how long I've been stuck at this level? Do you know how hard I've worked for it? If someone can make me a spiritual king, I'll call them Dad." Chapter 2797, Who's Your Daddy? 1. Chapter 2797, Who's Your Daddy? 1. Feng Wu smiled at Chen Ziyan. Do you want to become a spiritual king or not? Chen Ziyan stared at Feng Wu. Do I want to? Who wouldn't? Do you know how hard Sun Yu and the others have worked for it? Do you know how miserably they were defeated by spiritual kings in Peace Grassland? Do you know how many people would pay anything to become a spiritual king? You're already a spiritual king. You don't know how frustrating it is for people like me. Chen Ziyan waved his hand and looked as miserable as someone who wasn't understood by other people. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She handed Chen Ziyan the bottle. Chen Ziyan looked at her in confusion. Feng Wu said, "Drink it." Chen Ziyan shook his head. "No, I won't." Feng Wu asked, "Are you sure? You earned it." Chen Ziyan stared at Feng Wu. "Mention it again, and I'll be angry." He then gave Feng Wu back the spiritual fossil stone. He had recorded everything since Zhuo Qingwan's arrival, including everything Zhuo Qingwan had said. The look Chen Ziyan gave her was a mix of pity and compassion. He felt sorry for what she had gone through. Feng Wu put away the spiritual fossil stone and looked at Chen Ziyan again. "Are you sure you don't want it?" "Yes. Force me again, and I'll be mad at you." Chen Ziyan glared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. The thought of him being buried in feces made him want to throw up. He had lost all appetite. Meanwhile, Elder Wu was staring at Feng Wu's bottle. He sniffed and his eyes lit up. Is that? Can it be? Elder Wu's eyes flickered, and he looked like a hungry wolf. Is that spirit wine? Elder Wu was pleasantly surprised. Feng Wu was also surprised. Have you heard of it before? Elder Wu smacked the wall in excitement. Of course I have. All people of my age have. Chen Ziyin was stunned. Feng Wu's bottle had to contain something really amazing to make Elder Wu so excited. Elder Wu was one of the 36 elders of the school. They were the foundation and the most effective defense system of Imperial College. Chen Ziyin was intrigued and looked back and forth between Elder Wu and Feng Wu. Elder Wu was glaring at Feng Wu. Are you holding real spirit wine? Feng Wu said lightly. That's right. Elder Wu said, show me. Show me now. Since Elder Wu had criticized Zhuo Qinghuan, Feng Wu returned the favor by handing it to him. Elder Wu didn't gulp it down like Little Phoenix had. He carefully poured a drop on his fingertip and put his finger in his mouth. His eyes lit up. OMG. The smell and taste indicated that it was spirit wine. Chapter 2798. Who's your daddy? 2. Chapter 2798. Who's your daddy? 2. It really was spirit wine. Elder Wu was so excited that he thought he was going to lose his mind. He stared at Feng Wu. Yes, it's spirit wine. I can recognize it from a mile away. Feng Wu nodded with a smile. Chen Ziyin looked at Elder Wu in bewilderment. He still didn't know what was going on. Elder Wu then kicked him, and Chen Ziyin dropped to his knees. The elder made sure that the boy was kneeling in front of Feng Wu. Chen Ziyin stared at Elder Wu in astonishment. What was going on? Elder Wu said angrily, she's your daddy now. Chen Ziyin couldn't stop laughing. Was the old man trying to be funny? Feng Wu felt utterly confused. She didn't know if Elder Wu was being serious or trying to be funny. Elder Wu had done it on the spur of a moment, and he felt awkward when he realized what he had done. He gave Chen Ziyin a stern look and scolded him. You idiot! I can't believe you can be so stupid. Even pigs are cleverer than you, because they'll eat what they're fed. You've been given the best thing on this continent, but you won't take it. How stupid can you be? Chen Ziyin was confused, but he seemed to understand a little. Exactly what was this spirit wine? Seeing that Chen Ziyin still looked stunned, Elder Wu said, it'll take you straight to the spiritual king stage. What? Chen Ziyin blinked in astonishment. Straight to the spiritual king stage? How's that possible? It can't be. How could something so precious exist? Elder Wu glared at him. Of course it's possible. Most of the elders became spiritual kings because they drank spirit wine. We were a seeded team too, and we also couldn't make it to the spiritual king stage. The wine brought us there. What? Chen Ziyin was astonished. Why weren't we given any? Elder Wu said. The secret essence mine collapsed, and we couldn't find it again. Our stock ran out, so we couldn't give you any. Chen Ziyin said. So we came into the secret essence mine too. Elder Wu nodded. We came here to train you as well as to search for spirit wine. However, we didn't have much hope of finding it, but you dug it out. Chen Ziyin said. I didn't. Feng Wu told me where to dig. He didn't dare take the credit. Elder Wu nodded, turned to Feng Wu, and tried to find the right words. The spirit wine meant a lot to the team members, who were still level 9 spiritual lords. Elder Wu tried to say something, but couldn't bring himself to say it. Seeing what Elder Wu was getting at, Feng Wu held out her hand. Elder Wu looked from the bottle to Feng Wu. He didn't know what to give to her. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She said in resignation, that's mine. Elder Wu ground his teeth. I can give it to you, but you have to share it with the team members. He was being fair enough. Other people would have taken it away without asking for Feng Wu's opinion, and there was nothing she would be able to do about it. Feng Wu said, it sounds like you really want our team to win. Chapter 2799 Bargain. Chapter 2799 Bargain. Elder Wu said grumpily, why would I want to lose? He knew Feng Wu was too clever to believe in some made-up excuse. So he said, "Why do you think there's a competition between the two colleges every year? Do you think it's about petty resources, like we've been telling the students?" "Of course not." Elder Wu stared at Feng Wu. "It's related to how the resources are allocated between the elders of the two colleges. If you win, we'll receive a significant amount of cultivation resources from the empire, and the right to command the battle in Peace Grassland." Feng Wu asked, "The right to command the battle?" She didn't know so much was involved. "What do you think?" Elder Wu stared at her. "Do you think everybody just fights on their own there? Of course somebody has to command them." Feng Wu said, "Isn't that Northern Feng General's job?" The general was, in fact, her godfather. Elder Wu said, "Yes, he's the highest command, but cultivators can only fight at their own stages." Feng Wu looked at him in confusion. Elder Wu said, "For example, you're a spiritual king, so you can only go to the spiritual king battlefield in the grassland. If you enter spiritual lord territory, you'll be punished for it." Feng Wu's eyes widened. "I didn't know such a rule existed." Elder Wu waved his hand. "You've never been to Peace Grassland. Why am I telling you this now? Just remember, the competition is more than a game between students. It's a battle between two forces. All eyes will be on the two teams. The military academy's team already has 2 spiritual kings, and we only have you. We're at a severe disadvantage." Elder Wu said sternly, "Feng Wu, will you contribute to your college and make us proud?" Feng Wu cleared her throat. It would take more than that to take the spirit wine from her. She took the bottle from Elder Wu and put it away before she grinned at the old man. "I'll give it to whomever I want to give it to. Nobody can tell me what to do." Elder Wu was a little displeased. "Feng Wu, this is a serious matter." Feng Wu smiled. "Why should it bother me? Did Elder Wu think he could persuade her with the speech about the big picture? She wasn't born yesterday. What do you want?" Elder Wu stared at her. Feng Wu smiled. "I don't like switching yuan." "How straightforward." Elder Wu stared at her. "So, shall I have her beaten up in a dark alley? Do you like the sound of that?" He didn't even need to ask someone else to do it. He could do it himself. However, that wasn't what Feng Wu wanted. "Where's the fun in that?" Feng Wu shook her head. "What do you want then?" Somehow, Elder Wu felt Feng Wu had a more wicked plan. Feng Wu grinned. "You'll see." It amazed Chen Ziyan to see how Feng Wu bargained with Elder Wu. That was amazing. Who was Elder Wu? He was a member of the 36 elders, who outranked all the vice chiefs. Chapter 2800 Collapsing. Chapter 2800 Collapsing. That was to say, Elder Wu was ranked higher than the vice chiefs. All ordinary students revered the vice chiefs, and even Chen Ziyan didn't dare look directly at Elder Wu. However, Feng Wu was actually bargaining with him. She actually had the upper hand in the negotiation. Chen Ziyan couldn't help but admire her courage. However, Feng Wu glanced at him at that moment. Chen Ziyan suddenly realized something. The spirit wine. He needed the spirit wine. He stared at Feng Wu in excitement. "Boss Feng Wu, please let me have it." The idea of rising to the spiritual king stage made him want to jump around. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at him. "So now you want to become a spiritual king?" Chen Ziyan said, "Of course. I dream about it every day." Feng Wu smiled at him. Recalling how he had doubted Feng Wu and refused to drink the spirit wine, he felt utterly embarrassed. Luckily, he never stayed embarrassed for long. He knelt at Feng Wu's feet and tugged at her sleeve. "Boss Feng Wu, please help me." Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Was this guy really the captain of Dynasty Team? Fine. You can get your share." Feng Wu took out a tiny bottle, filled it and handed it to Chen Ziyun. "That's enough spirit wine to help you reach the spiritual king stage. Of course, if you want to play the generous person and give it to someone else, that has nothing to do with me." Chen Ziyan had indeed thought about giving it to his team members. However, he shook his head when he saw the warning look in Feng Wu's eyes. He knew Feng Wu must have her own arrangements. All of a sudden, boom, the ground shook violently. Feng Wu and Elder Wu reacted in time and grabbed onto the wall to steady themselves. Chen Ziyun was bumped back and forth between the walls and was almost knocked out. It seemed forever before the shaking stopped. Chen Ziyun felt dizzy and asked Feng Wu, "What happened?" Feng Wu's face darkened. She wanted to know what happened too. However, Little Phoenix was cultivating and wouldn't be able to answer the question before it woke up. However, she had a bad feeling. Her chest felt tight, her heart was beating abnormally, and she had a dull headache. Back when Zhuo Qingwan set her up, she had gotten the same feeling before she went to meet Zhuo Qingwan, who then destroyed her true phoenix blood. She knew she would only have this sort of feeling when her life was in danger. An idea suddenly struck her. It couldn't be. "Oh no!" Feng Wu shouted. "If I'm right, this mine is going to collapse. Quickly! We must get out now." What? The secret essence mine was going to collapse? How was that even possible? Neither Chen Ziyun nor Elder Wu believed her. However, the rumbling got closer and closer. Feng Wu led the way. "Follow me if you want to stay alive." Elder Wu was much more sensitive than Chen Ziyun, and he felt the approaching danger as well, so he grabbed Chen Ziyun. "I think it's really happening. Run." Chapter 2801 Fleeing. Chapter 2801 Fleeing. Run. Everybody started running. The tunnels began to collapse. Chen Ziyun finally panicked and shouted, "Oh my God! The walls are falling down. Why is this happening?" He had thought Feng Wu was joking. Even Elder Wu looked rather nervous now. Feng Wu was the calmest one. "Follow me. I'll lead you out of the mine." Chen Ziyun glanced at her. Really? He doubted it. However, they didn't have many options and could only follow her instructions. Led by Feng Wu, their retreat was rather methodical, but it wasn't the case for the other people in the mine. The people were divided into 4 groups, and Zhuo Qingwan was on her own. No one but Zhuo Qingwan knew how she got out. She was holding a jade pendant that held a flame. She had carried the pendant for over a decade. There had been an abnormal phenomenon when Feng Wu was born, which was why the entire city had been intrigued about her. The same thing happened with Zhuo Qingwan. This jade pendant appeared when Feng Wu was born. The midwife who delivered Feng Wu put it away. When the Zhuo family investigated Feng Wu, they found the midwife and obtained the pendant from her. The pendant was usually white, but when activated, a tiny flaming phoenix would appear. It had the power to destroy everything. Zhuo Qingwan had activated the pendant 3 times so far, and each time, the tiny phoenix would help her kill the person she wanted to kill. She gripped the pendant and whispered, "I'm the only one with the true phoenix blood. My phoenix, bring down this mine." Sealed in the pendant was the power of a phoenix of ancient times. The energy surged at Zhuo Qingwan's command. Boom! The sound of explosions and collapsing walls filled the mine. Zhuo Qingwan smirked. She was sure she could kill Feng Wu today. What about the others? Zhuo Qingwan couldn't care less. It wasn't their lucky day. Unfortunately, Zhuo Qingwan didn't realize that the energy surge from the pendant decreased every time she activated it. This was the 3rd time, and there was already a crack in the pendant, which Zhuo Qingwan hadn't noticed. What she didn't know was that the pendant came from Feng Wu's beautiful master, and had been used to protect Feng Wu when she reincarnated into this world. Zhuo Qingwan had stolen it. Feng Wu didn't know about the pendant, nor did she know why the mine collapse was happening so suddenly. She frowned and quickly led the others toward the exit. She knew formations, and she was a level 8 formation master. She knew the layout of the entire mine, as if the map was in her head. Chen Ziyun followed Feng Wu. He doubted her at first. However, he became more amazed as they walked. OMG, Feng Wu really seemed to know the way. She even avoided all the places that had collapsed. Chapter 2802 Phoenix Pendant. Chapter 2802 Phoenix Pendant. Chen Ziyun noticed that Feng Wu was taking them along the safest paths. He could hear the sound of the mine collapsing nearby, but nothing happened to the tunnel they were in. He looked over his shoulder when they reached the next tunnel. The one they had just walked through no longer existed. Chen Ziyun felt a chill run down his spine. What if If he hadn't listened to Feng Wu and had picked up his pace, he would have been buried by now. Chen Ziyun and Elder Wu looked at each other in astonishment. It seemed that Feng Wu knew everything. With Feng Wu leading the way, they had a relatively safe journey. However, the other two groups weren't as lucky. The collapse wasn't a one-off incident. It kept happening. The 8-man group was led by Sun Yu. When the collapse started, he immediately turned on his armband and asked for Elder Wu's help. Elder Wu, are you there? We need help. However, he didn't receive any reply. It wasn't that Elder Wu had abandoned them. Right now, he wasn't within a 20 km radius. Wang Xiao realized what was going on. Elder Wu isn't in the circle. He must have gone off to help Ziyun and Feng Wu. The elder was out of the armband's reach. Wang Xiao grew anxious. Qiu Ziyu was even more anxious, because he was terrified of death. It's all Feng Wu's fault. Qiu Ziyu ground his teeth. If it wasn't for her, Ziyun would never have left the safe circle, and Elder Wu wouldn't have left us to protect them. Elder Wu won't know the danger we're in now. Wang Xiao glanced at him. Deep down he felt that Qiu Ziyu was right. However, he was too responsible to blame the danger they were in on other people. No one knew this was going to happen. Wang Xiao gave Qiu Ziyu a stern look. Not Feng Wu, and not Elder Wu. Moreover, we don't know if they're still alive. Chu Chu nodded. We'll have to save ourselves. Hearing the mine collapse, Qiu Ziyu ground his teeth. How? What should we do? Find Elder Mei. Sun Yu made up his mind. He must know the way out. That's right. There's Elder Mei. The others agreed with him. The collapse was happening mainly around Feng Wu, and their area wasn't as severely affected. They soon found Elder Mei. Elder Mei looked very displeased. It had taken him forever to clear out this small area, and there was still much work to do. He remembered clearly that a treasure was hidden in the mine. It was spirit wine. He was trying so hard to study the mine because he wanted to find the spirit wine and create a shortcut for the team members. He and his fellow elders had made their breakthroughs this way, and it pained him to see the teenagers stuck at their levels. But now, more tunnels were collapsing. The sound came from the direction where the spirit wine was buried. Elder Mei was devastated. Elder Mei, is the mine collapsing? Sun Yu asked. Chapter 2803, Run. 1. Chapter 2803, Run. 1. Elder Mei nodded solemnly. Yes, it is. Why is this happening? Sun Yu grew anxious. Do you know where Elder Wu is? What about Ziyun and Feng Wu? Elder Mei looked in the direction where most of the collapse was taking place. Sun Yu paled. Although Elder Mei didn't say anything, the look on his face was the answer. Elder Mei gritted his teeth. You get out first. I'll take a look over there. Sun Yu said, We'll go with you. Elder Mei said, No, I don't have the time to look after you. He then ran in the direction where he thought Elder Wu was. However, he only made it a few steps before rocks began to fall. The collapse had reached their area. Elder Mei! The impact threw him off balance. The others rushed over and helped him to his feet. However, more rocks fell from above. Elder Mei, do you think Elder Wu? Elder Mei climbed to a higher spot and looked into the distance. The area was in ruins. Only he could climb that high because the students didn't know formations. Elder Mei was filled with sorrow. When he climbed back down, his face was drained of blood, and he looked 10 years older. Elder Mei! Everybody panicked when they saw his face. Elder Mei said sadly, They've been buried underneath. I don't think the chance they survived is high. He took a deep breath and went on. We're in grave danger ourselves. We must get out as soon as possible. The team members couldn't believe it. Are we going to give up on them? Before Elder Mei could answer, Mr. Su said sternly. Do you think Elder Mei doesn't want to save them? He can't. The collapse started in their direction. One can only imagine what happened over there. Do you know how dangerous it'll be to go in that direction now? To make it worse, we haven't explored that area yet. Even Elder Mei doesn't know the way. There are 80,000 tunnels. We can easily get lost and die there. Even if Elder Wu wasn't buried, he won't find his way out. The others lost hope when they heard this. Meanwhile, more rocks were falling, and the rumbling was getting closer. Mr. Su turned pale. He turned to Elder May and waited for his decision. Elder May remained silent. Mr. Su said anxiously, Elder May, we still have so many students here. Staying here will get everybody killed. They're all elite students of our school and valuable assets. We can't afford to lose all of them. The team members glared at him. Zian isn't dead, Sun Yu retorted. If he had known the way, he wouldn't just be standing here. Elder May finally made up his mind. Let's go. He had Mr. Su lead the way. They had explored this area, so Mr. Su knew the way out. No matter how reluctant Sun Yu and the others were, they didn't have any choice. They couldn't stay here. Because Chapter 2804 Run. 2. Chapter 2804 Run. 2. More rocks were falling on their heads, and the tunnels were collapsing more rapidly. Where's Switching Wan? Elder May finally remembered the girl that had been following him around. Mr. Su looked around and realized he had lost Switching Wan. He then remembered something. She said she was going to help Feng Wu. Elder May said, Nonsense. Does she not know what her capability is like? What makes her think she can help other people? Mr. Su didn't know what to say. Elder May said, I'm afraid she's been buried as well. The team didn't like Switching Wan all that much, so no one said anything when they heard the news. Meanwhile, the rumbling was getting closer. Let's go, Mr. Su said anxiously. Sun Yu and the others took another look in that direction, gritted their teeth, and started moving toward the exit. The collapse was close behind them. They were racing against time. If they lagged behind, they would be hit by the rocks and buried underneath. It was the most dangerous thing they had ever experienced. Mr. Su ground his teeth. What were these students hesitating for? That Sun Yu even wanted to save those people. He believed he would be out of here by now if those students hadn't delayed him. He was complaining in his head when Sun Yu shouted, Isn't this area 20 kilometers wide? Why haven't we reached the exit? The sound of the collapse was so loud that Sun Yu had to shout at the top of his lungs. Everybody was running as fast as they could, and what Sun Yu said made them realize that something was wrong. Yes, at this speed, they should have covered the 20 kilometers by now. Why did the tunnels seem to never end? How long did they have to run? Mr. Su didn't know what to say. He was also dumbfounded. That was right. They should have covered the 20 kilometers in no time, but now. Mr. Su then realized something. However, Sun Yu was the first to ask the question. Mr. Su, you haven't led us in the wrong direction, have you? Mr. Su didn't know what to say. Because, in fact, he really had. Mr. Su's face was livid. He gave Sun Yu a dirty look before turning to Elder May. Elder May. Elder May's face was livid. In a critical moment like this, Mr. Su had led them in the wrong direction. With a wave of his hand, Elder May led the others into a safer tunnel that had yet to collapse. The collapse happened like dominoes. Elder May did some calculations and was stunned. How had this happened? The formation pattern he had figured out had changed significantly. That was to say, the path he thought could lead them to the exit would no longer take them there. No wonder Mr. Su ran in the wrong direction. The formation had changed. Elder May. Everybody looked at him anxiously. He was their only hope. However, Elder May had never appeared so troubled. Everybody looked at one another nervously. They knew it would be a matter of time before the collapse reached this tunnel. Elder May said in a hoarse voice, It won't be easy to find the path now. Everybody was astonished. Chapter 2805, Can't Find the Way. Chapter 2805, Can't Find the Way. Everybody stared at Elder May in astonishment. What was that supposed to mean? Mr. Su asked the question for them. Elder May, what do you mean the path is hard to find now? The collapse had stopped, but it was only temporary. They knew the next wave would start soon. Elder May seemed troubled by the question. He slowly said, The formation in the secret essence mine is beyond complicated. Solving it has been much harder than I expected. I thought the area I explored would remain safe, but when the formation changed, everything changed with it. Mister? Sue asked anxiously. Is this formation forever changing? Elder May nodded. We're finished, mister. Sue began to howl. If the formation really did that, they would have no way to get out. Sun Yu and his teammates panicked. Why is this happening? I thought we were. Mister. Sue glared at them. The formation has changed. It means the paths have changed with it. We need to find a new way out. Sun Yu was speechless. The others were anxious as well. What should we do now? They all looked at Mr. Sue and Elder May. Mr. Sue said, it took us days to find that path, but now, boom, something worse happened. Their tunnel finally began to collapse. Mr. Sue paled. It's coming. The tunnel is coming down. Elder May, what should we do? We're going to be buried. Elder May's face was drained of all color. What should he do? I can find the way out if I have 2 more days, but now. Elder May turned in the direction of the noise. The rumbling was getting closer and closer. They didn't have 2 minutes, let alone 2 days. Elder May looked at them. You have 2 minutes to write down your last words. Last words? Sun Yu was almost in tears. Last words. We're about to fight military college. Are we going to be wiped out? Everybody panicked. Elder May waved at them. Write down your last words. And people may dig out the papers later. He then started on his own. Sun Yu suddenly smacked his forehead. Wait. Didn't Feng Wu give us a little paper crane? That's right. Wang Xiao nodded. Feng Wu gave us a paper crane. She said it would lead us out of here. Mr. Sue found his words idiotic. Do you seriously believe her? Elder May wanted to roll his eyes as well. When one's life was threatened, people would stop thinking straight, and might even become delusional. Let it be. They were going to die anyway. Sun Yu took out the paper crane. The crane flapped its wings and flew forward. Little crane, can you take us out of here? Sun Yu was full of hope. Elder May rolled his eyes again. Sun Yu grabbed his arm. Let's go. Maybe it really knows the way out. Elder May didn't have any hope at all. He found the whole thing nonsensical. Wang Xiao took Elder May's other arm. Standing here will get us killed. Follow that bird, and maybe we still have a chance. The others followed the bird. Meanwhile, Mr. Sue was. Chapter 2806 Agitation. Chapter 2806 Agitation. Mr. Sue was left behind. Wait. He grew anxious when the others ran off with the bird. Although he didn't think the crane was reliable, he didn't want to stay here alone. He quickly followed the others, running as fast as he could. The crane led the way, flying a little bit faster than the speed of the collapse. Sun Yu and Wang Xiao held Elder May's arms and pushed him forward. Let go of me. Let go. Elder May shouted angrily. However, Sun Yu and the others ignored his protests and moved as fast as they could. Meanwhile, outside the secret essence mine, Gong Sun Mu and his colleagues were rushing toward the mine. They were panic-stricken when they sensed the danger. Why did it happen so suddenly? Everything was fine earlier. Mr. Yang said anxiously. Mr. Duan said, the entire dynasty team is inside. If something happens, we're going to. Elder May is inside too. We can't lose him. Gong Sun Mu worried about Feng Wu the most. The crown prince had summoned him in person. Although he never mentioned Feng Wu, everything he said had been a hint that Gong Sun Mu should protect the girl. Therefore, Gong Sun Mu had always known how well-connected Feng Wu was. He found Zhuo Qinghuan's petty tricks utterly ridiculous. Miss Qinghuan is inside too. Mr. Wang shouted agitatedly. She's the crown prince's fiancée. If something happens to her, our college is finished. Gong Sun Mu gave him a stern look without another word. The crown prince had only given him hints about protecting Feng Wu, and Zhuo Qinghuan's name never came up. She wasn't his fiancée. That girl must be delusional. Gong Sun Mu and the others arrived at the secret essence mine. The door was closed. Gong Sun Mu was stranded outside the door, and there was nothing he could do. What should we do now? Mr. Gong Sun, what should we do? Mr. Wang and the others were anxious. Getting blamed for putting Zhuo Qingwan in danger wasn't the worst part. If the team lost the competition, the resources the teachers received would be reduced as well. Their own benefits would be affected. After the first explosion, the tunnels collapsed like dominoes. The ground outside shook as well. The ground shook so violently that the people outside were only able to remain standing because they were capable cultivators. Mr. Gongsun, the ground is caving in. It's collapsing too. Mr. Wang shouted. He was trying to say that since they couldn't save the others, they might as well leave first. Gongsun Mu shook his head. You can leave if you want, but I'm not leaving. Mr. Wang turned to look at the other tutors. The other tutors showed no intention to leave. Mr. Wang stomped his feet. He now had to stay here, where they could be buried alive at any moment. He muttered. They must have been buried alive and are dead by now. There's no point in standing here. We'll only be killed too. What a waste of energy. No one answered him. The people inside were too important for Imperial College to lose. The tutors had never been so serious, and their eyes were bloodshot red. Mr. Wang was about to continue when something happened. Chapter 2807 Come Out. Chapter 2807 Come Out. Somebody charged out of the door. Everybody was thrilled when they saw who it was. Zhuo Qingwan, Miss Qingwan, Gongsun Mu, and the others ran to her side in excitement. Zhuo Qingwan didn't look well. Her clothes were covered with dust, and there was blood on her face. Gongsun Mu immediately asked, "What's going on inside? Where are the others?" All eyes were on Zhuo Qingwan. Zhuo Qingwan struggled to her feet, took a deep breath and said gravely, They. What happened to them? Everybody was anxious. Speak. Zhuo Qingwan said. It was all Feng Wu's fault. If she had listened to Elder Mei and remained in the area she was supposed to, this mine would never have collapsed. Mr. Wang said. What? Did Feng Wu start it? I told you already that Feng Wu is trouble. Now you know I'm right. Gongsun Mu frowned and stared at Zhuo Qingwan. Where are the others? Zhuo Qingwan gritted her teeth. Feng Wu took everybody with her. I couldn't stop them. They wouldn't listen to me and went away with Feng Wu. They've all been buried down there. They're all dead. She believed that everybody was dead, and she could make up whatever story she wanted. Gongsun Mu's head spun. Everybody had been buried alive, including Feng Wu. Gongsun Mu swayed and dropped to his knees. Mr. Gongsun. Everybody helped him to his feet. It was such a hard blow. Although Zhuo Qingwan had come out, Imperial College still couldn't afford the loss. Mr. Wang said. At least His Royal Highness won't blame us. He turned to Zhuo Qingwan. I'm so happy to see you. Otherwise, it would be the end of Imperial College. Zhuo Qingwan smirked inwardly. Once Feng Wu was dead, she was all the empire had. The crown prince would have to choose her. She thought about how she was going to marry the crown prince, give him children, and become empress. She could feel her heartbeat racing. However, Gongsun Mu shouted, No, His Royal Highness will make us pay. He will. Everybody gave him strange looks. Zhuo Qingwan had come out alive. Why would the crown prince be angry? Meanwhile, Zhuo Qingwan stared at Gongsun Mu. She wondered if he knew something. Was Feng Wu buried? Are you sure she's dead? Gongsun Mu stared at Zhuo Qingwan with bloodshot eyes. Zhuo Qingwan said coldly, Yes, she's dead. I saw it with my own eyes. And there was Elder Mei. He died trying to save her. Did you watch them getting buried too? Mr. Yang asked. Zhuo Qingwan thought. Those people are all dead and no one can verify my words. Therefore, she could slander Feng Wu however she wanted. Yes, Zhuo Qingwan said decisively. Chapter 2808 Alive. Chapter 2808 Alive. Mr. Wang lost his temper when he heard that Elder Mei had died, because he tried to save Feng Wu. That Feng Wu got so many people killed just because she thought she had a little talent. I warned you before. Someone should discipline her. To possess talent but no moral integrity will get people killed. It was all her fault. If she hadn't wandered off, the others wouldn't have been buried. Elder May was there, including the entire dynasty team. Feng Wu is going to ruin our college. Mr. Wang shouted at the top of his lungs. Zhuo Qingwan smiled viciously. She loved it when Mr. Wang did all the work accusing Feng Wu. In the secret essence mine. Elder May was astonished. He had been furious at first. The two students had disobeyed him. However, his mouth had fallen open. Because, as they followed the paper crane, he started to recognize their surroundings. The rumbling remained some distance behind them, and it almost felt like they were on the right track. Elder May, we're a little safer now. Please find the path. Mr. Su urged him. Elder May didn't say anything. He only stared at the crane that had been leading the way. The paper crane. Could it be? Elder May? Elder May. Mr. Su almost wanted to shake the old man by the shoulders. Elder May woke up from his stupor and looked at the crane. He sounded certain when he spoke again. Follow the bird. What? Mr. Su was dumbfounded. Follow the crane. But it's just something Feng Wu made as a joke. Mr. Su thought Elder May was so shocked he had lost his mind. He said, Elder May, have you forgotten? Didn't you say the paper crane was nonsense? We even tore up the one she gave us. Elder May was speechless. Had he done something so stupid? Gosh, he really had. Elder May blushed and didn't know what to say. However, when his life was in danger, his dignity didn't matter anymore. Elder May shook his head and glanced at Mr. Su. No, it seems it's not a joke. Mr. Su said, What? Elder May said, It probably has level 8 inscriptions on it. Mr. Su said, What did you say? When he recovered from the initial shock, he stared at Elder May and really thought the old man had lost it. Elder May, do you still remember how Feng Wu gave out the paper cranes? Apart from Zhuo Qingwan, she gave a paper crane to each of us. Level 8 inscriptions may not be so rare in the Dongseng Kingdom, but here in the Zhenhua Empire, they're priceless. Do you think Feng Wu would give us something so precious in passing? She was so casual about it. It was like she was giving out ordinary fruit. How can it be level 8 inscriptions? I won't believe it even if you kill me. Mr. Su said decisively. Elder May didn't believe it either, because Feng Wu had been so offhanded about it when she gave out the paper cranes. However, Chapter 2809, Confrontation 1. Chapter 2809, Confrontation 1. Elder May didn't believe it at first, but what the paper crane did was beyond his expectations. He studied the paper crane and calmly said, Let's follow it first. Mr. Su found the whole thing ridiculous. Sun Yu looked from Elder May to Mr. Su and suggested, It's not like we have any other options. Let's just follow the bird. What if it works? They followed the bird after that. Before long, they saw a spot of light up ahead. Mr. Su shouted excitedly, Look, there's light. The underground tunnels were pitch black, and they had been using torches to move around. The light meant one thing. Is the exit up ahead? Sun Yu was equally excited. Elder May was astonished, but deep down, he knew this was going to happen. He looked at the paper crane. Just then, the bird seemed to have used up its energy. It swayed and turned into a little ball of flame. Before they could do anything, the bird turned into a wisp of smoke and disappeared. Elder May rushed forward, trying to grab it, but the smoke vanished into thin air. Elder May, we found our way out. We're going to live. Mr. Su said excitedly. Seeing that Elder May was still standing there, he grabbed the old man's arm and dragged him out of the tunnel. The people outside jumped when they charged out of the door. Zhuo Qingwan was the most astonished of them all. Her face went livid when she saw Elder May and the others. Gong Sun Mu and the tutors were thrilled to see Elder May. They immediately gathered around him. Elder May, you're still alive. Thank God. Gong Sun Mu and the tutors had been devastated a few minutes ago, but now they were ecstatic. Some of them even burst into joyous tears. Elder May was exhausted by all the running. He looked pale and weak. Gong Sun Mu counted the people around him. Elder May, Mr. Su Zhuqingwan. We still have 3 people inside. Gong Sun Mu had been looking for Feng Wu. However, no matter how many times he searched, he still couldn't find Feng Wu anywhere, and he grew anxious. Where's Feng Wu? Where is she? Sun Yu said sadly. Feng Wu and Xian are in the same group. There. Was she really buried inside? Gong Sun Mu panicked. Buried? Sun Yu was confused. Who said that? She did. Everybody turned in Zhuqingwan's direction. They all looked at her. Gong Sun Mu glared at Zhuqingwan. Didn't you say you saw Feng Wu getting buried? Zhuqingwan was speechless. Sun Yu and the others were shocked. They stared at Zhuqingwan and asked, Did you see it? Zhuqingwan didn't answer. Sun Yu was even more anxious. Answer me. Did you see them getting buried? Sun Yu, do you not know? Gong Sun Mu was confused. Sun Yu said, How are we supposed to know? We weren't together. Elder Wu split us into 2 groups. Feng Wu and Ziyan were in one group, and the 8 of us were in another group. Ziyan was in danger, so Elder Wu went to help him. Chapter 2810 Confrontation 2. Chapter 2810 Confrontation 2. Then the collapse started, so we went to Elder May and ran out of the mine with Mr. Su. Gong Sun Mu frowned. That's not what I heard. Miss Qingwan, didn't you say you saw with your own eyes Elder May and the students getting buried down there? That's right. Mr. Duan also turned to Zhuqingwan. Miss Qingwan, you did say that you were there when the others were buried. All the tutors had heard her say those words, so she had no excuse to make. She began to panic. She thought the others had all died, and nobody would challenge her. However, these people had come out alive. Why didn't they die? Sun Yu stared at Zhuqingwan. Miss Qingwan, I think you owe us an explanation. Zhuqingwan glanced at Sun Yu. What explanation? Sun Yu said, Miss Zhua, just because you're the vice chief doesn't give you the right to make irresponsible claims. Zhuqingwan stared at him. She couldn't believe someone would talk to her that way. Gong Sun Mu also said, Miss Zhua, I'd like an explanation too. Zhuqingwan snorted. I saw Feng Wu getting buried. As for Elder May, I admit I made the wrong assumption. I thought they were all together. Sun Yu frowned. We split up from the very beginning. How could we be together? Zhuqingwan glared at him. Are you questioning me now? She was still a vice chief, and Sun Yu didn't dare ask too many questions, fearing that he might offend her. Everybody found her explanation unsatisfactory, but they didn't know what to accuse her of, so they stopped questioning her. Moreover, Gong Sun Mu cared more about Feng Wu. I don't believe she's dead. She's going to come out alive. He gritted his teeth. I believe in miracles. Zhuqingwan smirked. The tunnels had probably all collapsed. How was Feng Wu going to come out? Zhuqingwan feigned a sad tone and pretended to be in tears. She's dead. I saw it with my own eyes. Mr. Gong Sun, we should move somewhere safe. Mr. Wang said, That's right. It's not safe here. The ground is still shaking, and we don't know if the collapse will spread. Mr. Gong Sun, we should leave. Gong Sun Mu said, You can go if you want. I don't think she's dead. Zhuqingwan said, But Elder May is exhausted. She had rushed to Elder May's side as soon as he came out, asking about his condition. Unfortunately, Elder May didn't even glance at her. To her surprise, Elder May said, I don't think she's dead either. What? Everybody stared at Elder May. The old man hadn't liked Feng Wu all that much before, but now, Zhuqingwan didn't like the sound of that at all. Chapter 2811 Astonishment. Chapter 2811 Astonishment. She stared at Elder May completely shocked. She was much sharper than the others, and could sense the change in his attitude. It wasn't a good sign. She had invested so much in the old man. She did everything he asked and fawned on him. Elder May had begun to warm up to her. However, she was gone for a little while, and Elder May had grown fond of Feng Wu. Zhuqingwan couldn't accept it. Elder May, Zhuqingwan said in an aggrieved tone. I'm sorry for your loss, but Feng Wu is. Hearing that, Elder May threw a dirty look at her. Sun Yu smirked. Feng Wu is the only reason we were able to get out. There's no way she's trapped inside. What did he mean? Zhuo Qingwan's pupils contracted, and she stared at Sun Yu. What did you say? Sun Yu said, Feng Wu helped us get out. Zhuo Qingwan didn't believe him. She turned to Mr. Su for an explanation. Mr. Su nodded. The formation has completely changed, and we couldn't find the safe passageway from earlier. We came out because we followed Feng Wu's paper crane. What paper crane? Zhuo Qingwan glared at him. Mr. Su said, just like the one you tore up earlier. Zhuo Qingwan didn't know what to say. Those words felt like a slap to her face. That little paper crane. It's impossible. Zhuo Qingwan ground her teeth. I don't believe you. Sun Yu turned around and smirked. Suit yourself. Feng Wu let us out of the mine, and that's a fact. I'm sure she'll be able to get out, Sun Yu said confidently. What do you mean? Gong Sun Mu was shocked. Why was everybody telling him different things? You said you watched Feng Wu getting buried alive. He turned to Zhuo Qingwan. He then turned to Sun Yu. Did you say Feng Wu led you out? Which of you is telling the truth? Is Feng Wu alive or not? Even Gong Sun Mu was confused, let alone the other tutors. Sun Yu said, we were lost at first, and even Elder Mei couldn't find the way. Luckily, we had a paper crane that Feng Wu gave us earlier, and it led us out of the tunnel. How could a paper crane lead you out? Somebody didn't believe him. Sun Yu said, Feng Wu told us the paper crane had level 8 inscriptions on it. Don't make me laugh. Level 8 inscriptions? Do you know what that means? Mr. Wang smirked. If that's the case, show me. Sun Yu said, it's burnt to ash. Mr. Wang said, so you don't have any evidence? Sun Yu said, Elder Mei said so himself. Zhuo Qingwan gave Mr. Wang a warning glance and Mr. Wang kept questioning Sun Yu. He said, Elder Mei doesn't talk much, but you can't make up things like that. He's telling the truth, Elder Mei suddenly said. Everybody was shocked. Level 8 inscriptions. The paper crane really had level 8 inscriptions. Chapter 28:12 Chased by the Collapse. Chapter 28:12 Chased by the Collapse. However, level 8 inscriptions were so precious, and were only used in the central area of the school. Feng Wu was a mere student. How could she possibly have that kind of instrument? Who was she kidding? Sun Yu added, Feng Wu has a lot of them. She gave one to each of us. Zhuo Qingwan said, not me. Sun Yu said, yes, she left only you out. Zhuo Qingwan almost exploded. Mr. Wang said, didn't you say the crane burnt to ash? You can say whatever you want. Seeing that Sun Yu wanted to bring up Elder Mei again, Mr. Wang cut him off. I'll only believe you if Feng Wu comes out alive. However, could Feng Wu come out alive? Everybody stared at the exit. Then, boom, the ground shook even more violently. Rocks kept spilling out of the mine, and almost landed on their heads. A rock hit Mr. Wang on the back, and he almost burst into tears. Mr. Gongsun, did you hear that? The collapse is coming in our direction. We should leave now. Mr. Wang urged everybody. Feng Wu must be dead. She can't survive this. Gongsun Mu couldn't keep his balance either. The cracks on the ground looked like spider webs. Boom, the sound grew louder and louder. Just then, dark clouds gathered in the sky, and it turned dark. Whoosh, look, the walls of the mine are cracking too. Mr. Wang almost jumped to his feet. Everybody looked up. He was right. There were cracks on the outer wall of the mine. They were expanding as well. The mine really was going to collapse. The walls were over 30 meters high. If the walls fell on them, they would all be buried inside. They had to leave. Zhuo Qingwan cherished her life more than anything else, and was the first to run. Mr. Wang followed her. Mr. Yang and the others looked at one another before anxiously turning to Gongsun Mu. Gongsun Mu was so worried that he felt sick. He couldn't run. If Feng Wu really were inside, the crown prince would punish all of them. When that happened, they would wish they were dead. He would rather die here than run away. Run, all of you. He decided to stay where he was. Mr. Yang and the others anxiously looked at the shaking mine that could collapse at any moment. Go! Gongsun bellowed. He stayed because he had to take full responsibility. If he died with Feng Wu, maybe the Crown Prince would spare Imperial College. Meanwhile, Feng Wu and the other two were rushing as fast as they could through the mine. If Little Phoenix were around, they wouldn't be worried about a collapse of this size. The bird could sense everything and would know the safest route. However, the bird was still cultivating now, and they were on their own. Figuring out the right route wasn't enough. They also had to avoid the places where the walls would cave in. The collapse was right on their heels. It was moving as fast as they were. Chapter 28:13, Shadow Phoenix. Chapter 28:13, Shadow Phoenix. If Feng Wu were a little bit slower when she calculated the route, they would all die. Chen Ziyan kept his eyes on Feng Wu and didn't dare disturb her. Even Elder Wu didn't dare make a sound. Feng Wu was too important to them now. If she were a second too slow, they would all be dead. Luckily, Feng Wu was a level 8 formation master, and she knew this formation inside out. Therefore, she was able to choose the best route every single time. She found it strange when she noticed a hint of a phoenix from the collapse that was on their heels. It was the energy of the true phoenix blood. Was it Zhuqingwan? Feng Wu frowned and stopped abruptly. If it really was the effect of the true phoenix blood, would her divine phoenix blood be able to stop it? Seeing Feng Wu stop, Chen Ziyan thought he was going to have a heart attack. Feng Wu, God, why are you standing there? Run! The collapse was almost upon them. Feng Wu took out a dagger and slid it across her palm. Blood oozed out. Drops of blood flew out toward the collapsed site. Xiao Wu, what are you doing? Run! Chen Ziyan grabbed Feng Wu and ran toward the exit. Caught by surprise, Feng Wu was dragged away. Seeing light up ahead, Chen Ziyan shouted in excitement. It's right ahead! Run! The collapse seemed to speed up behind them. It was as if a beast had woken up deep in the mine. Elder Wu grabbed Chen Ziyan, who grabbed Feng Wu in turn and picked up his speed. With a whoosh, they rushed out of the mine. The moment they were outside, the mine's entrance collapsed. Elder Wu saw Gongsun Mu kneeling on the ground, so he grabbed the ladder with his free hand and ran away from the collapsing site. Feng Wu felt dizzy from all the yanking, so she didn't realize that there was a shadow phoenix in the collapsed mine. The shadow phoenix had been trapped inside a jade pendant. Flames spread out as if a phoenix was soaring in the sky. Zhuqingwan had put a drop of her blood on the pendant to wake up the shadow phoenix. Enraged, the bird started the explosion that brought down the entire mine. It was only a shadow, but it could destroy the whole mine with one sneeze. If it recovered more strength and did more than sneeze, the result would be terrifying. The phoenix licked its beak. It tasted like blood. What? The bird seemed confused. The food tasted much better. It had tasted that blood a long time ago. It couldn't understand why the food had suddenly become so tasty. It wanted all its food to taste like this. Somehow, the bird felt it was born to feed on things like that blood. What it had eaten before was rubbish in comparison. It threw a dirty look in Zhuqingwan's direction as it returned to the pendant. What Zhuqingwan didn't know was, her true phoenix blood was far less potent than the divine phoenix blood. Now that the shadow phoenix had tasted Feng Wu's blood, it would resist Zhuqingwan's blood when she tried to get the bird to do dirty deeds for her. Chapter 28:14, Zhuqingwan slips away. Chapter 28:14, Zhuqingwan slips away. Boom! The mine finally collapsed. Luckily, Elder Wu dragged everybody away before that. Feng Wu! Feng Wu! Ziyun! Elder Wu! Everybody rushed to their side and greeted them. There were a few exceptions. One of them was Zhuqingwan. It had never occurred to her that Feng Wu would come out alive. She ground her teeth. She had ordered the shadow phoenix to kill Feng Wu, no matter the cost. The bird had disappointed her. Recalling how she had said she saw Feng Wu getting buried, she felt mortified. When the others weren't looking, Zhuo Qingwan slipped away. Mr. Wang had been watching Zhuo Qingwan and was surprised when he saw her leave. Had she given up? By the looks of it, the girl wasn't as capable as she was said to be. He wondered if he was barking up the wrong tree. Fearing the humiliation, Mr. Wang ran off as well. Gong Sunmu was so excited to see Feng Wu that he burst into tears. He grabbed her sleeves and examined her, as if she were his granddaughter. Elder Mei gave Feng Wu a long look and said, "Come with me." Feng Wu walked away with him. The other people gathered together and exchanged stories about their adventures in the mine. Hearing their conversation, Gong Sunmu frowned. So, Zhuo Qingwan was lying when she said she saw you all buried alive. Sun Yu said, she wasn't even with us. How could she see that? Chen Ziyan nodded. That's right. There was no way she could have seen us. Moreover, even if she had, why didn't she try to save us? And how did she get out? Gong Sunmu and the other tutors found Chen Ziyun's argument very reasonable. They were going to question Zhuo Qingwan, but realized she was no longer there. She disappeared quickly enough. Gong Sunmu ground his teeth. He now realized that there was something off about Zhuo Qingwan. Sun Yu said, "We only got out because of Feng Wu's paper crane." Chu Chu said, "That's right." Elder Mei said the formation had changed, and he didn't know the way anymore. We lost all hope. Luckily, we had Feng Wu's crane on us, and that was how we got out. Chen Ziyan was surprised. Was that how you got out? I didn't think the paper crane would work. Chu Chu said, "That's right. Elder Mei didn't know what to do, and actually asked us to write down our last words. The bird showed us the way. Ziyun, how did you get out?" Chen Ziyan said, "Feng Wu let us out." Chu Chu was astonished. Are you saying Feng Wu really knew her way around the mine? Is she really a level 8 inscription master? That's impossible. She might know the way, but she can't be a level 8 inscription master. Even Elder Mei isn't at that level yet. Chen Ziyan shook his head. Chapter 28:15 Spiritual King. Chapter 28:15 Spiritual King. Maybe someone gave her the paper cranes, Xiao Ziyu said timidly. Chen Ziyan said, "That's right. That has to be it. That was why she was so generous with them." Everybody nodded. They couldn't accept the fact that Feng Wu was a level 8 inscription master. In their minds, all inscription masters were elderly people like Elder Mei. "Ziyun!" Sun Yu suddenly cried out. Everybody looked at him. "What?" Chen Ziyan was perplexed. "Ziyun, you feel different," Sun Yu said curiously. "I feel the same. Ziyun used to be just like us, but there's something so formidable about his energy now." Gong Sunmu also looked at Chen Ziyun. His eyes widened. "You're a spiritual king now." A spiritual king? Everybody looked at Chen Ziyun in astonishment. God knew how eagerly they wanted to defeat the military academy. The military academy team had at least 2 spiritual kings, but the Imperial College had never had any before this. It was a great humiliation to Imperial College. But now Chen Ziyun was a spiritual king. Really? Ziyun really is a spiritual king now? OMG, this is great news. Ziyun, how did you do it? Teach us. All the other team members asked him for instructions, but Chen Ziyun couldn't hear any of them. He was in a trance-like state. He tried to check his dantian, but was too excited to control his spiritual essence properly. He had wanted this so badly that when it actually happened, he didn't know what to do. It took him a while to regain control and examine himself. He was relieved. He had become a spiritual king. On this continent, only cultivators at the spiritual king stage and above were considered to be the real masters. The spiritual king stage was a benchmark. Above it were the rulers. Below it were those who were ruled. He had finally crossed the threshold and entered a new phase. It was a great rise for both himself and the Chen family behind him. He was going to make his family so proud. Chen Ziyan almost burst into tears. He took a deep breath and fought back the urge to cry. He knew perfectly well how he had become a spiritual king. Elder Wu looked at him in satisfaction. He also knew what had happened. He was a witness. He saw Feng Wu hand the spirit wine to Chen Ziyun, who drank it and made the breakthrough. Without the spirit wine, it would be next to impossible to turn a spiritual lord into a spiritual king. With it, the process became so easy. Elder Wu looked at the team and thought about the possibility of all of them becoming spiritual kings. The idea thrilled him. Chapter 28:16. Special Attention. Chapter 28:16. Special Attention. However, Elder Wu knew that wasn't feasible. The spirit wine would only work on someone like Chen Ziyan, who had reached the peak of the spiritual lord stage. It would be wasted on other cultivators. Chen Ziyan looked in the direction Feng Wu had left with complicated feelings. She said she would make him a spiritual king, and she did it. Nobody would believe such a promise, even if it came from the head of the college. How was she able to do such things? Meanwhile, Feng Wu was with Elder Mei. The old man stared at her for a long time, thinking the girl would be flustered. However, he was disappointed. The girl stood straight and met his gaze. She was so calm. "Where did you get the paper cranes?" Elder Mei asked. Feng Wu didn't answer him. "Who gave them to you? Who's your master?" Elder Mei stared at her. Feng Wu suddenly smiled. "There are 103 loopholes in the eastern woods in the college. Would you rather stare at me than repair them?" Elder Mei's face darkened. 103 loopholes. How did she know that? That was the correct number. Feng Wu walked away after that. She didn't need other people to recognize her achievements in formations and inscriptions. Those skills could work wonders when it came to surprising her opponents. Elder Mei didn't try to stop her. He watched the girl leave with a pensive look on his face. Imperial College. Feng Wu went back to her dormitory. Room 2001. Chaoga and Ziling had their own tasks to finish and were both away. Yihan had moved back. She was lying comfortably in a lounge chair, reading a book while eating some fruit. The door opened. Yihan frowned and looked in that direction. She thought it was Ziling and was going to scold the girl. However, she was dumbfounded when she saw Feng Wu come in. Earlier in the secret essence mine, Feng Wu had demonstrated her power, and even Shan Jingfei had been forced to go to Peace Grassland. Yihan scrambled to her feet, dropping the fruit in the process. She no longer tried to antagonize Feng Wu, but she didn't know if Feng Wu would want to take revenge. It would be a piece of cake for Feng Wu. She wanted to play nice and greet Feng Wu, but she was worried it would make her seem snobbish. Moreover, what if Feng Wu ignored her and walked away? So many thoughts flashed through Yihan's mind at that moment. Feng Wu only glanced at her and casually said, "You're reading?" "Why, yes." Yihan didn't expect to hear Feng Wu greet her first, and was overwhelmed by what felt like special attention. Feng Wu nodded at her, and headed back to her own room. She had fought non-stop in the secret essence mine, which had cost her a lot of energy. She needed to take a break. However, she only took a few steps before she stopped. Yihan eagerly waited for Feng Wu to leave. Chapter 28:17. I'm a spiritual king as well. Chapter 28:17. I'm a spiritual king as well. Yihan was relieved that Feng Wu was leaving, and was ready to go back to her room, when Feng Wu suddenly spoke to her. She dropped her fruit again. She looked at Feng Wu, and was too scared to breathe. Feng Wu sat down and patted the lounge chair. "Sit." Yihan was alarmed. Feng Wu smiled. "Since you don't have much to do, why don't you answer some questions for me?" Before Yihan could say anything, Feng Wu asked, "Have you heard of the military academy team?" Yihan was relieved. It seemed Feng Wu wasn't here to settle accounts with her. "Of course I have. I was one of the cheerleaders when our team fought them last year. We lost so miserably." Feng Wu asked, "Why do you say that?" Chen Ziyan only said they had lost, but he didn't say how badly. Yihan knew Feng Wu had joined the dynasty team, so she immediately knew why she wanted to know. The two teams were going to compete again. Feng Wu would probably be taking part. She had to do some research beforehand. Yihan was happy to be useful. "If you ask me, you should stay out of this competition." Feng Wu shrugged. Yihan said, "If you have to take part, try to be the last fighter." Feng Wu asked why. Yi Han said, "It will be a 5v5 competition. Each team will have 5 fighters, and the team with the last member standing wins. From what I've seen so far, the first ones to go on stage are beaten up pretty badly. The last one can choose to give in since our team will lose anyway. They won't suffer from too many injuries." Feng Wu rolled her eyes. "Why are you so sure that we'll lose?" Yi Han was amazed and she asked after a long while, "Do you want to hear the truth?" Before, when she deemed Feng Wu to be her enemy, she found Feng Wu insufferable. However, now that her mindset had changed, she realized that she liked Feng Wu's company. She had never really hated Feng Wu. It was all because of her jealousy. Feng Wu said, "Of course." Yi Han said, "In that case our school is bound to lose." Feng Wu said, "Why do you say that?" Yi Han said, "Everybody knows the military academy has 2 spiritual kings, because they fought in the competition last year. They're Sheng Changtian and Lu Haobei." Feng Wu nodded. Yi Han said, "We received news today that another member of their team has become a spiritual king. His name is Lu Qinghe. So they already have 3 spiritual kings but we have 0. Feng Wu said, "Chen Ziyun is a spiritual king now." Yi Han was surprised. "Really?" Feng Wu nodded. Yi Han was happy for a brief moment before her shoulders slumped. One spiritual king won't make any difference. Feng Wu smiled at her. "I'm a spiritual king too." Yi Han rolled her eyes at Feng Wu and wouldn't believe her. She became quite impatient. Chapter 28:18 Sweet Revenge. Chapter 28:18 Sweet Revenge. The competition took place in the military academy last year. And it's our turn this year. But I'm going to take leave and stay at home. Feng Wu asked, "Aren't you going to watch?" Yi Han shook her head. "We're going to lose miserably. Why would I want to watch?" Feng Wu said, "Why do you think we're going to lose?" "Who's going to lose?" Chaoge and Ziling came back at that moment. Yi Han said grumpily, "Feng Wu says our team is going to win the competition this year." Chaoge and Ziling quickly ran into the room. Ziling was pleasantly surprised. "Feng Wu, are we really going to win this year?" Chaoge was very confident. "With Feng Wu around, there's no way we'll lose." The entire school knew Feng Wu had joined the seeded team. Yi Han rolled her eyes at Feng Wu. "They have at least 3 spiritual kings, all right?" Ziling covered her mouth. "At least 3? What about?" "We have 1 at most," Yi Han said without hesitation. Ziling said, "That's why so many people went to see their tutors and asked to go back home for a few days. They can't face the defeat." Being a newer student, Ziling didn't react as strongly as Yi Han, who had been here longer. Yi Han said, "I'm leaving too." Chaoge said, "I know Feng Wu is going to win." Feng Wu patted her. Chaoge was right. She was going to win. Yi Han glanced at her in resignation. "Do you know why the seeded team is 1 man down and has to recruit Feng Wu? Do you know why that person is absent? His name is Yu Ming. In the competition last year, Lu Haobei severely injured him, and he's still bedridden now. Lu Haobei is only the 2nd best fighter in their team. Sheng Changtian, their captain, is the most capable one. Chen Ziyun was defeated in 3 stances. That team completely crushed us last year, and it was a great humiliation. I heard they found a secret cultivation place this year and made great progress. How are we going to defeat them?" Yi Han turned to Feng Wu. "I've told you everything you need to know. Listen to my advice. It'll be humiliating, but you won't be bedridden for a year." Feng Wu said, "Are you saying we should admit our defeat without trying?" Yi Han said, "Do you think I like the military team? Do you know how arrogant they are? When they left last year, Sheng Changtian cut down the flag of Imperial College. It was the greatest humiliation. Who doesn't want sweet revenge? But we can't. We're so much weaker than them. How are we supposed to win?" Feng Wu had always thought Yi Han to be a snobbish person. However, the girl shook with indignation when she mentioned the flag. She was angry at her school. Although she might criticize the school herself, she wouldn't let other people criticize or humiliate it. Chapter 28:19 Sequence. Chapter 28:19 Sequence. Yi Han stared at Feng Wu. You can only imagine how much our students want to win this competition. The more they want it, the more scared they are. I do hope you can help our school to win, but you're only a member of the second team. Do you know what that means? It means you'll be sitting on the bench. You won't get to fight in the actual competition. You'll only be playing in the warm-up match. Don't be naive. Yes, you're lucky, talented, and have been making insane progress. But this is a battle beyond your level. You're not qualified to fight it. Yi Han was so agitated that she shouted the first words that came to her mind. Chaoga lost her temper and stared at Yi Han. Shut up. Feng Wu waved at Chaoga. She turned to Yi Han and told her in a serious tone. I'll lead the dynasty team and win our honor back. Trust me. Yi Han looked into her eyes. What a pair of eyes. They looked like bottomless pits, but they also made one feel very reassured, as if everything she said would become true. For an instant, she really believed Feng Wu. She then shook her head, thinking she must be crazy. How could Feng Wu, the weakest member of the team, lead the team to victory? Yi Han hesitated. All right. I'll stay as a cheerleader. Feng Wu smiled. I think you'll have to set up a team first. Other people probably thought the same as Yi Han, and wouldn't want to watch the competition. Yi Han asked, You know the game's rules, don't you? Feng Wu said, No, I don't. Yi Han wanted to smack her in the head. How could she not know something so important? Where did she get the confidence that she could help the team to win? She couldn't understand why she believed Feng Wu. Yi Han pinched her nose. Both sides have the main team and the backup team. In the competition, they'll also fight their respective counterparts. The main teams will determine which side wins, but the backups won't be sitting idly on the benches either. They'll fight first. The winning team will decide the order of each main team's members in the subsequent round. Feng Wu was surprised. Is that so? Yi Han said. Yes. That is to say, if your backup team loses, the other team will determine their own order, as well as the order of Xian's team. If they ask Chen Xian to fight first, then we'll lose miserably. Sheng Changtian is very likely to be their first player. If he defeats all 5 of our people, it'll be a great humiliation for our school. If your team wins and gets to decide their order, you can have their weakest member play first. That way, even if we lose, we'll defeat some of them first. It won't be as humiliating. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Did all the students in Imperial College think they were going to lose? Chapter 2820, Give Away Your Spot. Chapter 2820, Give Away Your Spot. Feng Wu thought Yi Han only felt that way because she wasn't experienced enough. However, when she met Gong Sun Mu and talked to him about the competition, the old man didn't want to talk about it and only told her to stay safe. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. Did even Gong Sun Mu think they were going to lose? Feng Wu arrived at the training arena. It was at the center of Imperial College. The spiritual essence was the densest here. She heard people talking before she went in. How about we focus all our strength on the backup team this time? It was Chu Chu. Apart from Chen Xian, all the team members were there. The competition was the most discussed subject at the moment. The team members were talking about it as well. Xiao Ziyu said, We should put our best members in the backup team. That way we'll get to decide the order. Right. After that, we can arrange them in the order we like. We won't lose as miserably as last year. Last year was so humiliating. Sheng Changtian defeated all 5 of us. It was a nightmare. Chu Chu said, Put the best members in the backup team? Are you going to put Captain Chun and Sun Yu there? The military team will laugh at us. It won't be any less humiliating. He was right. Although the rules didn't forbid the main players to fight in the backup team, it was common knowledge that they shouldn't do it. Wang Nian grew anxious. You've turned down all our suggestions, so what should we do? Since when has Imperial College become so weak? This is so frustrating. Everybody felt the same way. Before, Imperial College could always easily win the competition, but things had changed in the past 2 years. Imperial College had never been humiliated like this before. Everybody was as frustrated as Wang Nian was. Feng Wu walked in at that moment. She asked in a curious voice that everybody could hear. I don't understand. Why are you all focusing on how to lose less miserably? The others turned around and saw it was Feng Wu. They all gave the newest member sympathetic looks. You're new here, so you don't know, said Qiuziyu. We don't stand a chance. Knowing that, our only option is to lose gracefully. He then turned to the others. Sun Yu alone won't be enough. How about we let Ziyun join the backup team as well? Chen Ziyun was the captain of the dynasty team, and Qiuziyu's suggestion would be a great humiliation for him. No one could bring themselves to talk to Chen Ziyun about it. Feng Wu rolled her eyes again. As for us, I can withdraw from the competition. Feng Wu, you're new and won't be of much use. You should withdraw as well, and give your place to Ziyun. Feng Wu felt like hitting someone. Chapter 28-21, Associate Dean Chuyun. Chapter 28-21, Associate Dean Chuyun. Feng Wu couldn't stand all the ridiculous suggestions. She was about to speak when she heard some footsteps. Why is everybody here? What are you doing? Chen Ziyun leaned on the doorframe with his arms crossed and looked curiously at his team members. The boys looked at one another and didn't dare bring up their suggestions to Chen Ziyun. They didn't know where to begin. Everybody glanced at Qiuziyu. After all, he was the captain of the backup team and had been the first to bring up the subject. He should be the one to break the news. Qiuziyu was speechless. However, he was confident in his suggestions because he thought he was helping the school. He looked at Chen Ziyun and said solemnly, Ziyun, we want to make a request. Chen Ziyun glanced at him from where he was leaning on the doorframe. Qiuziyu said, Ziyun, you should join the backup team. That's the only way we can make sure we'll win the first competition. That way, we won't lose so miserably in the final game. Screw you. Chen Ziyun was furious. Qiuziyu was dumbfounded. He was only suggesting it because he wanted to help the team. We have Feng Wu. I'm sure we'll win. Chen Ziyun was very confident. After all, Feng Wu had some great treasure. Feng Wu rolled her eyes at Chen Ziyun. Yes, she had the spirit wine. However, she had sent most of it back home as soon as she returned to the academy. She only had less than a third left. How could Feng Wu help them? Everybody looked at Chen Ziyun in resignation. Feng Wu was a talented fighter and might be a little bit stronger than Qiuziyu, but she couldn't be as good as anybody on the main team. The 5 members of the main team were Chen Ziyun, Sun Yu, Wang Xiao, Wang Nian and Li Xiaoqiu. The backup team thought they were all level 9 spiritual lords. However, their captain had just announced his confidence in the girl. Just then someone called outside. The military academy's people are here. The messenger was Huashan, Chen Ziyun's cousin. That was fast. Everybody frowned at Huashan. I thought they weren't coming until 3 days later. Chen Ziyun frowned. Who are they? Both teams and the tutor in charge. This year the tutor is... Huashan paused before saying, it's Associate Dean Chuyun. Chuyun? The others opened their mouths, but didn't know what to say. Feng Wu glanced at them. What was with those looks on their faces? Who is Chuyun? Chen Ziyun frowned. Since they're there, let's get the battle started. To the arena. The team members followed Chen Ziyun with conflicted feelings. It was Associate Dean Chuyun. She had only been a tutor when she was in Imperial College. Feng Wu asked curiously, who's that? Chen Ziyun didn't answer, and Sun Yu said, she used to be Mr. Gong Sun Mu's wife. Then, anyway, don't act weirdly when we see Gong Sun Mu later. Feng Wu thought, I don't know how to act weirdly. Chapter 28-22 Motivation. Chapter 28-22 Motivation. Seeing how confused Feng Wu was, Sun Yu had to explain to her. Miss Chuyun used to be our tutor and Mr. Gong Sun Mu's wife. She then divorced Mr. Gong Sun and married the head of the military academy within a month. Wang Zhao's face darkened. Everybody knows Ms. Chuyun, and the head had an affair before she dumped Mr. Gong Sun. Wang Nian said, that happened last year. Our team lost, Our flag was cut down and Ms. Chu Yin is a humiliation to both Mr. Gong Sun Mu and our school. Li Xiaochu said. I thought she would at least have the decency to stop showing up here. However, she's actually the tutor in charge this time. She's crossed the line. Sun Yu said. If we lose again. Everybody was frustrated. They wanted to tear something apart. They were already in a bad mood. And the news only made them feel worse. They felt like they were burning inside when they reached the arena. Many students received the news as well. Everybody was equally frustrated. Some people went into the forest at the back of the school and vented their anger on the magical beasts. Other people went to the cultivation rooms to avoid the embarrassing scene. Most students followed the dynasty team to the arena. When Chen Ziyun and his team arrived, Gong Sun Mu was confronting Chu Yin. Chu Yin was unbelievably arrogant. Gong Sun Mu said, the competition won't start for another 3 days. You're early. Chu Yin sneered at him. We're only free today. After that, we won't be here anymore. We have to compete today. Gong Sun Mu was angry. This isn't a small matter. You can't change the date as you like. Chu Yin said, what can possibly change in 3 days? Are you going to have more spiritual kings? Her students laughed when they heard this. Gong Sun Mu was furious. Chu Yin sneered at him again. You're always like this, too careful and too stubborn. Don't make me look down on you more than I already do. Gong Sun Mu's face went livid. Chu Yin changed her tone and said indifferently, we all know what your team is like. Just bring them here and get it over with. We're in a hurry to get to Peace Grassland. Gong Sun Mu couldn't stand the humiliation to Imperial College. Chu Yin waved her hand and said matter-of-factly, you're going to lose anyway. What difference do 3 more days make? You can't win. Chen Ziyun and his teammates clenched their fists and went scarlet red. Gong Sun Mu was so furious that he was shaking. Feng Wu glanced at Chu Yin. What an arrogant woman. She cheated on Gong Sun Mu with the head of the military academy. But she sounded like she hadn't done anything wrong. The humiliation she gave Gong Sun Mu in Imperial College was unbelievable. She also understood that Chu Yin had done it on purpose. Chapter 28-23, Start Now. Chapter 28-23, Start Now. She was deliberately trying to enrage Imperial College. It seemed she was serious about moving up the date of the competition. Why were they so eager to go to Peace Grassland? Had something happened? If that was the case, Imperial College should have heard about it as well. Therefore, a great opportunity must be waiting for the military academy in the grassland. Feng Wu seemed unperturbed, but she made a mental note of it. So be it. We'll have the competition today. You don't scare us. Someone spoke on behalf of the dynasty team. Feng Wu turned around and saw it was Wang Xiao. He was indeed an impulsive teenager. Wang Xiao, it's you. Long time no see. A person walked out of the military team and smiled at Wang Xiao. Wang Xiao's face went livid. He's Lu Haobei. He gave us hell last year. Chu Chu whispered in Feng Wu's ear. When Feng Wu looked up, Wang Xiao and Lu Haobei were shouting at each other. The military team was arrogant and bossy. The dynasty team was frustrated and eager for revenge. Moreover, many of their classmates were watching. The dynasty team became even angrier. Fine. Let's do it today. After consulting the elders, Gong Sun Mu agreed. Everybody fell silent. The winner this year would be determined earlier than usual. Gong Sun Mu stared at Chu Yin. The junior teams will compete first, followed by the varsity teams. So we'll need 2 days. Chu Yin cut him off with a wave of her hand. Why 2 days? 1 competition will be enough. You can decide the order of our players. How arrogant. Gong Sun Mu and his colleagues all turned livid. Gong Sun Mu and Chu Yin used to be husband and wife, but she was treating him like this while everybody was watching. Gong Sun Mu forced himself to calm down. The rule says 2 games, and we must follow the rules. Whatever. Chu Yin smirked. You're going to lose anyway. If you want to lose twice in a row, so be it. She rolled her eyes as she spoke. She used to be an arrogant tutor when she worked in Imperial College. However, she had never been so obvious about it. She now looked like a scoundrel who had realized her ambition. Gong Sun-mu said, "The junior teams will compete today, and the varsity teams tomorrow." Chuyin wouldn't have it. She said impatiently, "I told you already, my team is in a hurry to get to Peace Grassland, and we don't have that kind of time. Let's finish it today. All teams will compete today." She sounded so confident that the people of the Imperial College were infuriated. "Sir, let's do it," somebody shouted. Although everybody knew they weren't the military school's match, they didn't care about that now. Chapter 28-24. What about Feng Wu? Chapter 28-24. What about Feng Wu? Sun Yu and the others all rushed to Gong Sun-mu's side indignantly and asked him to start the competition. Gong Sun-mu didn't know what to say. Because the junior team would compete first, Sheng Changtian patted Lan Xiefeng's shoulder. "Good luck." The varsity team left after that. Their competition was in the evening, and they weren't worried about their junior team. They were going to use the time to walk around the campus. That was how arrogant they were. Lan Xiefeng nodded. Imperial College's junior team was so weak that he could defeat it with his eyes closed. Because Chu Yun was the tutor in charge of the teams, she had to stay here, although she knew her team would undoubtedly win this competition. "The game will start soon," said Gong Sun-mu. "The team leaders should hand in the players' names in 5 minutes. That was to prevent any team from changing players after the competition started. The names had to be handed in beforehand. Feng Wu hadn't said anything. She recognized 2 out of the 5 members of the other team. They had met before. Some students had arrived to watch the competition. Feng Wu saw Yi Han. Xiao Xiao, Wang Ji, Ling Hao, Cheng Fong and many of her new friends were all here to cheer her on. They were shaking with anger when they heard the humiliation from the other team. They wanted to run up to the stage and slap those people. They cursed Chu Yun with everything they could think of. Ling Hao said, Look, aren't the members of their junior team the 5 people we ran into in the secret essence mine?" Yi Han nodded. "That's right. It's them. They were surrounded by spirit stone worms. Why aren't they dead? If they had died, they wouldn't have come here to humiliate us like this. I don't want to see them at all. They could criticize their own school, but they wouldn't let any outsider say a bad word about it." Feng Wu wanted to roll her eyes when she saw the 5 people. The military academy wasn't as impressive as it was said to be. On the other side, Qiuziyu was putting down the names of the players. Qiuziyu said, "Chu Chu Li Zhan Zhaoxi, and I will play. Wang Xiao, would you like to join us? Without you, we'll have a very difficult time." That was an understatement. They would have no hope of winning at all. Wang Xiao hesitated. He was a member of the varsity team. Fighting for the junior team was quite embarrassing. Qiuziyu said, "Yes, it's embarrassing. However, if all 5 of us are defeated, it'll be even more humiliating." Wang Xiao said, "All right then." Qiuziyu said, "Great." He then started filling in the names. Wait. Chen Ziyan found Qiuziyu's decision rather foolish. What about Feng Wu? Feng Wu herself wanted to ask the same question. Qiuziyu said, "Well, Feng Wu is new." Chen Ziyan stared at him. Qiuziyu said, "Ahem. Well, she hasn't completed her paperwork yet, so she's not an official member. We won't want the military academy to find out about it, do we?" Chapter 28-25, New Captain. Chapter 28-25, New Captain. Chen Ziyan took out a piece of paper and shook it in front of Qiuziyu. It had been signed by Zhuo Qingwan herself. He had been gone for a while, because he went to look for her to sign the form. Zhuo Qingwan must have deliberately hidden away, because she had been very difficult to locate. In the end, Elder Wu gave Chen Ziyan a hand and made her sign it. Chen Ziyan didn't tell the others what he had gone through. He only stared at Qiuziyu. Qiuziyu pretended to be pleasantly surprised. What? Does she have all the paperwork now? So she's an official member. But Qiuziyu seemed troubled. She's only just joined us and hasn't been trained. I don't think she knows the rules. Won't it be too risky to let her compete? He was looking for every excuse to stop Feng Wu. He knew she was better than him, because he hadn't been able to fight back when she dragged him away. Because of that, he didn't want to give Fengwu any more chances to show her talent. Chen Ziyan saw through him, and was full of disdain. Was Qiuziyu trying to give them trouble now? Now wasn't the time for internal strife. Qiuziyu didn't know who Fengwu's patron was, which was why he dared to play such tricks. Chen Ziyan glanced at Qiuziyu, and the look gave Qiuziyu the creeps. What was going on? You're no longer the captain of the junior team, said Chen Ziyun. What? Qiuziyu stared at him in disbelief. Captain, he shouted. Chen Ziyan ignored him and turned to Fengwu. You'll be the new captain. Fengwu knew how critical the situation was, so she nodded. No problem. Qiuziyu was furious and shouted. I object. Chen Ziyan didn't even look at him. I wasn't asking for your opinion. Qiuziyu was furious. Fine. So be it. Since no one wants my opinion, you don't need me anymore. I quit. I'm leaving the junior team. After that, he ripped off his team uniform and threw it on the ground. No one noticed them at first because they had been talking in low voices. Now that Qiuziyu had raised his voice, everybody was looking at them. Gong Sunmu and Chu Yun were both on the stage close by. Gong Sunmu frowned at Chen Ziyun. Chu Yun glanced at the team and chuckled. What's going on with Imperial College? Are you making changes now? The captain of your junior team has just been dismissed, and he's leaving the team. Gong Sunmu, is that how you've been teaching your students? They're so divided. Gong Sunmu felt as if he had been slapped. Chen Ziyan was staring at Qiuziyu. The competition is about to start. Are you sure you want to do this? Of course Qiuziyu knew that. He thought the team couldn't do without him. They wouldn't value him as much after the competition, and he wouldn't be able to change Chen Ziyan's mind then. At that thought, Qiuziyu smirked. If you remove me from my position, I'll quit. Chapter 28-26, Competition 1. Chapter 28-26, Competition 1. Qiuziyu thought his threat would work, because they didn't have backup players. He thought Chen Ziyan would beg him to stay. To his surprise, Fengwu spoke first. She said, if you want to ruin your future, you're welcome to do so. The door's right there. You can leave now. Qiuziyu went scarlet in the face. However, he didn't have another choice after what he said earlier. Qiuziyu glared at Chen Ziyun. Fine. I hope you won't regret your decision. He then marched toward the door. Ziyan. Wang Xiao gave Chen Ziyun a pleading look. But Chen Ziyun ignored him. The others were looking at Chen Ziyun as well. It was evident that Qiuziyu didn't want Fengwu to compete. However, they were one member short. What should they do? Sun Yu said grumpily. Doesn't he know how important today is? There's no time for his little tricks. We can do without him. We'll borrow someone from the varsity team. So what if it's a little embarrassing? Fengwu shook her head. That won't be necessary. What? The others all gave her strange looks. Fengwu was the reason this was happening in the first place. If it had happened to another person, they would have been so flustered by now. Fengwu, on the other hand, was as confident as ever. We're short. Sun Yu tried to persuade her. Wang Zhao's face darkened. I'll do it. Fengwu repeated. That won't be necessary. Wang Xiao was so furious that he stared at Fengwu. I know you're pretty, and people like you, but you're crossing the line. It's not the time to be so capricious. Qiuziyu and Wang Xiao were good friends, so Wang Xiao couldn't help but take Qiuziyu's side. Fengwu only glanced at him. Wang Xiao thought Fengwu was going to quarrel with him, but she didn't. Her bright eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. She looked at him as if he was an idiot. She didn't seem angry. She seemed perplexed. It was as if she didn't understand why he was so angry. Wang Xiao didn't know what to say. Gong Sunmu's voice rang out at that moment. You can hand in the names now. Qiuziyu had written down the names already. So Fengwu grabbed a pen, crossed out Qiuziyu's name, and added hers at the bottom. That was it. Gong Sunmu and Chu Yun received the name lists at the same time. Gong Sunmu read it aloud first. The Dynasty team players are Chu Chu Li Zhan, Zhao Si and Fengwu. Gong Sun-mu gave Fengwu a questioning look. Chen Ziyan went up on stage and whispered something in his ear. Nonsense, Gong Sun-mu said angrily. However, the seats were half full, and the military academy was watching. Gong Sun-mu would be embarrassing Chen Ziyan if he scolded the boy now. He could only wait until later. He gave Chen Ziyan a stern look, but Chen Ziyan grinned. Don't worry, Xiaowu is very talented. Chen Ziyan left the stage after that, and Gong Sun-mu's face was livid. Chapter 28-27 Competition 2. Chapter 28-27, Competition 2. Next to Gong Sun-mu was Chu Yin, and they had a complicated relationship. What's going on? I heard, Chu Yin said in a mocking tone. Gong Sun-mu ignored her and turned to look at Fengwu. Fengwu nodded. We can do it. What choice did Gong Sun-mu have? He could only say, those will be our 4 players. What? The students in the audience were astonished. Not many had come to watch because they all thought their school was going to lose. Even so, 30% of the seats were filled. All the Imperial College students stared at Gong Sun-mu in bewilderment. Wasn't it a 5v5 competition? Each side should have 5 players, and the team with the last member standing would win. Imperial College was likely to lose. If that was the case, why did they only have 4 players? What's going on? Why is this happening? Are we giving up? We don't have to be so proud. Everybody was displeased. Someone said, I saw Chiuziu leave. He's the captain of the junior team, isn't he? I heard Fengwu made him leave because she's the new captain, according to when the names were announced. Fengwu? Who's she? She's the new student who's been making all that insane progress. No matter how capable she is, she's still a new student. Why is she qualified to be a team member or participate in the competition? What makes her qualified to be the captain? I can't believe it. That's right. This is so important. If Fengwu didn't do something, Chiuziu would never have left. Many people started condemning Fengwu. A person next to Yihan was saying similar things, and Yihan jumped to her feet in frustration. What are you talking about? Fengwu is so talented. Of course she's qualified to be a team member. The girl next to her was frightened by her reaction. The girl was from Class B, and knew her classmates didn't like Fengwu. Almost the entire class was against Fengwu. Disliking Fengwu became politically correct. That was why she blurted out those words. To her surprise, Yihan had switched sides. She remembered Yihan as one of the people who had hated Fengwu. Why are you? The girl was scared of Yihan. Yihan said aggressively, Fengwu is amazing. Just wait and see. You'll be convinced. The girl cringed a little, rose to her feet, and went to sit somewhere further away from Yihan. She wondered how Fengwu was going to convince her. There were many students here, and most of them had heard of Fengwu's name before, or had even had dealings with her. That was especially the case with Class E students. They had spent the most time with Fengwu because she started her days in the academy as a Class E student. Sun Jingyu, Mu Qianqian, Pei Si and many others had seen how talented she was. At first there were the anti-fans, the fans, and the neutral party. However, almost all of them turned into Fengwu's fans in the end. Chapter 28-28 Competition 3. Chapter 28-28 Competition 3. Hearing that Fengwu was going to be in the competition, all her fans showed up. That was why a third of the seats were occupied. Without the fans, there would be very few audience members. They all tried to explain to the others how amazing Fengwu was. However, Fengwu had skipped classes C and D, so most students didn't know her well. They didn't understand why Class E thought so highly of her. How good could she be? If she got along well with the Class E students, she couldn't be all that capable. Otherwise, she would be so proud and would never socialize with Class E. They decided that Fengwu had taken away Chiuziu's role in a critical moment like this to buy herself popularity, which only showed how much of a schemer she was. The other students found such a girl terrifying. Hence they disliked Fengwu even more. The classy students were frustrated, but didn't know what to do. They tried to explain how excellent Feng Wu was, but they couldn't give any detailed descriptions of her capability, because it was beyond their knowledge. Would Feng Wu win? They couldn't say for sure either. Yi Han wasn't sure either, but it didn't stop her from singing Feng Wu's praises. After Imperial College announced their players, Chu Yin announced theirs as well. The military academy's players were Lian Xiao, Lu Mo, Ma Hao Wang Zhe and their captain Lan Xiefeng. Chu Yin played a little trick. Seeing that Imperial College announced its captain last, she also announced Lan Xiefeng's name. Gong Sun Mu gave her a knowing look. Chu Yin said confidently, "I'm leaving in 15 minutes. Gong Sun Mu snorted. "You can't leave during the competition." Chu Yin smiled. "It'll be over by then." Gong Sun Mu's face turned livid. Feng Wu didn't know what to say. She almost felt sorry for Gong Sun Mu. Chu Yin was so arrogant that Feng Wu wanted to see the woman be humiliated. Chu Yin happened to glance at Feng Wu at that moment, and she sneered at the girl. "That woman." Feng Wu snorted. She extended her right arm and raised her thumb at Chu Yin. Chu Yin smiled, thinking the girl was going to surrender. However, the smile immediately froze on her face. Feng Wu had turned her hand and aimed her thumb at the ground. Was that a provocation? Chu Yin glared at Feng Wu. Chu Yin was a fierce woman. Almost all her students in Imperial College and the military academy were scared of her. No one had disrespected her like this before. She made a mental note of Feng Wu's name. Chu Chu was walking up to the stage. Chu Yin glanced at Lian Xiao and suddenly asked, "Can you defeat all four of them?" Lian Xiao had made some great progress and was very confident in himself. He was excited to be the first player. "I'll try." "You'll try." Chu Yin frowned. Chapter 28-29 Competition 4. Chapter 28-29 Competition 4. "Yes, of course." Lian Xiao immediately changed his answer. "I'll defeat all four of them." Chu Yin was glad to hear the answer and patted him on the shoulder. "Go ahead." "Yes." Lian Xiao clenched his fists in excitement. If he could defeat all four opponents, Chu Yin would give him special treatment in Peace Grassland, and his progress would be even faster. The military academy was used to looking down on Imperial College. Lian Xiao didn't even try to lower his voice. He shouted out his answer. All the audience and the dynasty team wanted to slap him. 1 against 4. He had to be dreaming. Chu Chu was so furious he was speechless. That was such a humiliation. Lian Xiao went up on the stage, and Chu Chu made his move before Lian Xiao could stand still. It was the first battle, and everybody held their breaths and watched with full attention. Feeling indignant, Chu Chu spared no effort and made some very aggressive moves. Although Lian Xiao was playing on the away team, he was much more capable than Chu Chu and could easily avoid his attacks. He started winning after 3 stances. Feng Wu shook her head. Chu Chu is going to lose. Wang Xiao smirked. Nonsense. Chu Chu hasn't shown his full strength yet. However, Lian Xiao kicked Chu Chu in the stomach before Wang Xiao could finish, and Chu Chu stumbled back. Lian Xiao took the opportunity to kick Chu Chu several times in a row. Chu Chu's face went scarlet. He didn't want to lose. However, he had reached the edge of the arena. No matter how reluctant he was still kicked out of the arena and fell to the ground. No! With blood on his lips, Chu Chu was so angry that he wished he could fight again. However, the kicks he received had severely injured his abdomen. He could barely stand, let alone fight. Zhao Si rushed to his side and helped him walk back to their team. The audience was dead silent. It happened so fast. They had thought that even if Chu Chu lost, he could at least injure his opponent. However, Chu Chu was badly injured, but his opponent was unscratched. Lian Xiao said arrogantly, "Who's next?" Li Zhan gritted his teeth. "I am." He went up on the stage. He wasn't any better than Chu Chu. However, he was more careful than Chu Chu and managed to stay in the game a little longer. But it didn't make much of a difference. In the end, he was kicked off the stage just like Chu Chu. The other students thought their hearts had stopped beating. That was crazy. How could that happen? Li Zhan had lost so fast. The junior team only had 4 players and 2 had lost. The competition hadn't started for more than 2 minutes. OMG. Everybody was so frustrated that they wanted to leave. It was terrible to watch their own team getting butchered at home. Wang Xiao was equally displeased. Li Zhan injured Lian Xiao, but it was only a minor injury. Lian Xiao may win the next round too. Nobody spoke. They all knew Wang Xiao was right. Chapter 2830 Competition 5. Chapter 2830 Competition 5. Why is Lian Xiao so capable? Is he really going to defeat all our 4? Sun Yu was furious. If the names hadn't been announced, he would be going on the stage now. Wang Xiao smirked. That may actually happen. We've never been humiliated like this before. He then gave Fengwu a dirty look. If Qiuziyu hadn't been chased away, this would never have happened. By then, no one believed they had a chance to win. All they hoped for was not to lose too miserably. Fengwu glanced at Wang Xiao. Are you referring to me? Wang Xiao snorted. You know what I mean. Fengwu nodded. Yes, I know myself very well. Wang Xiao turned around in frustration and wouldn't speak to her. I'll go next, Zhao Si said solemnly. I'll defeat Lian Xiao even if it costs me my life. Wang Xiao nodded. Fengwu frowned. No one's going to die. Just do your best. I haven't competed yet. However, her teammates didn't trust her. Chen Ziyun didn't know what to say. He had been leaning on a column with his arms crossed the whole time. He knew how capable Fengwu was. The junior team couldn't possibly lose. However, Wang Xiao and the other idiots. Chen Ziyun deliberately remained silent. He wanted to see how surprised the others would be when they saw Fengwu fight. He snorted a little. Wang Xiao looked back at Chen Ziyun, who was half hidden in the shadows, and was disappointed. He believed Chen Ziyun was infatuated with Fengwu's pretty face. By then, Zhao Si was already on the stage. Lian Xiao rubbed his chest where Lian Xiao had injured him. It didn't matter. It was only a minor injury. Seeing Zhao Si, Lian Xiao raised his chin and glanced at him sideways. Are you going to give up, or should I kick you off the stage? That was so arrogant. Zhao Si and all the other Imperial College students were furious. They wanted to kill Lian Xiao. Zhao Si gritted his teeth. You're going off the stage this time. Lian Xiao said, really? Show me what you've got then. He immediately charged at Zhao Si. Fengwu studied his stances. He was indeed one of the best students of the military academy. He had been doing well in the secret essence mine, and his moves were even better now. He exerted his full power with each stance. His fists seemed to weigh 10,000 kilograms. Thump, thump, thump. Although his chest was injured, Lian Zhao's punches got even fiercer. Zhao Si couldn't begin to describe the pressure and pain he was in, but he wouldn't give in. His legs were broken. His wrists were broken. He was kicked in the chest. Zhao Si gritted his teeth and wouldn't give in. Lian Xiao dragged him to the edge of the stage, but he wrapped his arms around Lian Zhao's legs and wouldn't let go. Lian Xiao felt a chill run down his spine. The audience was so nervous that they didn't dare breathe. Chapter 2831 Competition 6. Chapter 2831 Competition 6. Zhao Si grabbed Lian Zhao's legs and wouldn't let go. Lian Xiao snapped his fingers, trying to loosen his grip, and throw him off the stage. It didn't work. Even with his fingers broken, Zhao Si still wouldn't let go. How incredible! He was so stubborn. Lian Xiao started punching him. Zhao Si spat out mouthfuls of blood, but he still wouldn't let go. He only knew one thing. He couldn't lose. He couldn't let Lian Xiao defeat all 4 of them. The audience had risen to their feet. They were astonished by Zhao Si's persistence. Stop. Fengwu frowned. Zhao Si, you've lost. Come off the stage. Lian Xiao was relieved. His opponent was so stubborn that he didn't know what to do. Zhao Si glanced at Fengwu and shook his head. He wouldn't give in. He had a mission. Fengwu went up on the stage and whispered in Zhao Si's ear. Don't worry. I'll defeat all 5 of them. Trust me. Zhao Si saw the look in Feng Wu's eyes and stopped resisting. He was finally drained of energy. Something snapped in his head. He fell into Feng Wu's arms and passed out. Feng Wu handed him to Li Zhan, rose to her feet, and stared at Lian Xiao. The audience was crestfallen. They thought they were going to lose. No matter how talented Feng Wu was, she had only just joined the team. The other 3 were all her seniors. Even they had lost so miserably. What would happen to Feng Wu? Can she even withstand one blow? Somebody asked. No one answered. Deep down they thought the same. Gongsun Mu, I thought your team would improve after a year. I see they've become even weaker. Lian Xiao is the weakest member in our team, Xu Yin said in satisfaction. He's not even the best student on the junior team. If he defeats all 4 students, your school will lose all its reputation. How about you ask me nicely? Maybe I'll show some mercy and let Lian Xiao spare one of your players. I was so unlucky when I was with you, but my luck turned around after I left you. Gongsun Mu, you're such a loser. Xu Yin was so pleased. If she had a tail, she would be wagging it now. Feng Wu heard her, and she glanced at the woman. Xu Yin met Feng Wu's gaze, her expression harboring some malicious intentions. You're quite a nice-looking girl. If you give up now, I'll let you study at the military academy. How would you like that? Xu Yin asked in a matter-of-fact tone, because she was so sure that Feng Wu would say yes. She wasn't usually like this, but she was so excited to defeat her old employer that she had forgotten herself. She wanted to say whatever came to her mind. Chapter 2832 Competition 7. Chapter 2832 Competition 7. She smiled at Feng Wu and waited for a yes. All eyes were on Feng Wu. Would she? The students were so worried. Feng Wu beamed at Xu Yin. Screw you. Xu Yin felt as if she had just been slapped. The smile froze on her face. The audience was speechless. So were Feng Wu's teammates. Gongsun Mu didn't know what to say. Everyone was dumbfounded. She cursed. The most beautiful girl had just smiled and used profanity. It was the most astonishing thing many people had ever seen. Chen Ziyan couldn't believe his ears. He buried his face in his hands and thought, oh no, if the crown prince finds out what his girl said, will he kill me? Meanwhile, Lian Xiao was staring at Feng Wu. He even forgot to blink. I'm Feng Wu, the captain of the junior team. Good luck. Feng Wu was ready for battle. However, Lian Xiao was still dumbfounded. His mind had gone blank. It was her. How could she be the captain of the junior team? He should have looked more closely at that team. Lian Xiao wanted to slap himself. How could he be so stupid? How could he brag that he could defeat all 4 of them? No. Are you a student? Lian Xiao's voice trembled. Feng Wu nodded. Yup. Lian Xiao said. And you're the captain? Feng Wu nodded. Yup. Xu Yin stared at Lian Xiao. Kick her off the stage. She was furious at what Feng Wu had said to her. However, Lian Xiao bowed at Feng Wu and said, I'm so sorry. I've lost. He turned to walk off the stage after that. Xu Yin was utterly confused. Apart from Feng Wu, everybody was equally confused. They had no idea what was going on. Everybody was asking questions. What happened? Isn't Lian Xiao very capable? He said he was going to defeat all 4 of our players. Why did he just admit defeat? Is it because Feng Wu is so pretty? What's that supposed to mean? Are you saying Feng Wu only has a pretty face? Everybody was discussing it avidly, but they all looked cheerful, because the other player had just admitted defeat. Xu Yin was infuriated. She grabbed Lian Xiao when he walked past her. What was that for? She glared at him. Lian Xiao smiled bitterly. I lost. No, you didn't. Xu Yin bellowed. You didn't even fight her. Lian Xiao shook his head. Of course he didn't fight her. If he did, he would be dead. Go back there and fight her. Xu Yin wanted to drag Lian Xiao back onto the stage. Lian Xiao's face went white. I can't, miss. Chu. I'm not her match. Lian Xiao said anxiously. Chapter 2833 Competition 8. Chapter 2833 Competition 8. Chuyan stared at Lian Xiao. You've met her before. Lian Xiao nodded. Chuyan asked, did she defeat you? Lian Xiao said, no, she saved us. He wanted to point out that Feng Wu had saved more than just him, but Chuyan didn't hear him. She only asked, are you really not going to fight? Lian Xiao said, no, not even if you kill me. I'm not her match. He still remembered Feng Wu's red dress and flashing sword. She was so powerful that he had turned into her fan. Since her team still had 4 more players, Chuyan didn't insist. She cut Lian Xiao loose. Lian Xiao immediately ran back to his seat. Luemo, it's your turn, said Chuyan. Luemo didn't want to fight. He had spotted Feng Wu before Lian Xiao did. He was dumbfounded when he saw her face. What the heck? Wasn't their savior's name Wuxia? As it turned out, their savior was Feng Wu and the captain of the junior team. Luemo wanted to cry. Even if she weren't their savior, he still wouldn't fight her. He remembered the way Feng Wu killed countless spirit stone worms with a single strike. Luemo. Chuyan stared at Luemo and urged him. Luemo looked at his teammates. Ma Hao, his best friend, seemed to be studying the pattern on the back of the chair. No one wanted to get into trouble. Luemo. Chuyan was furious. She thought, what's going on? Are they like this because that girl is too pretty? Seeing that Chuyan wanted to drag him onto the stage, Luemo had no choice but to enter the arena. He walked as slowly as he could. Chuyan grabbed his shoulder when he walked past her. Defeat her? Luemo didn't know what to say. It was an impossible task. He gave Chuyan an indescribable look. He rushed to Feng Wu's side before Chuyan could react. Luemo did the same thing as Lian Xiao. He bowed at Feng Wu. I give up, my savior. After that he ran back to his seat. He even ran off the stage from Imperial College's side, because he didn't want to get scolded by Chuyan. Chuyan wanted to kill him. He had given up. Another one. She didn't know what the boys were thinking. Meanwhile, the audience was equally dumbfounded. What's that about? Am I blind? Or has the military academy gone mad? 2 of them gave up without fighting. Is her pretty face so useful? They were so confused. Members of the dynasty team were also perplexed. What the heck? Wang Xiao was almost too surprised to speak. How did she do that? Li Zhan said, our opponents are very powerful. Sun Yu said, did he just call Feng Wu his savior? Is that it? Feng Wu helped them before, so they don't want to fight her. Chapter 2834 Competition 9. Chapter 2834 Competition 9. Li Zhan said, this is great. They're 2 men down, and we won't lose so miserably. Chen Ziyan shook his head. Can't you be a little more ambitious? Wang Xiao looked at his captain. For example? Chen Ziyan said. For example, why can't we win this battle? Wang Xiao didn't know what to say. Captain Chen, please wake up. Wang Xiao pointed at the stage with a trembling finger. Can't you see what's going on? They're doing us a favor. They called Feng Wu their savior, which means she helped them before. Because of that, they want to return the favor and don't want to embarrass Feng Wu. That's why they gave up. Do you think they'll keep doing that? Do you think they'll keep letting her win? Even if they want to, the other team members won't let them. She couldn't have helped all 5 of them. Just wait and see. She'll be crying in a moment. They're going to kick her off the stage. Wang Xiao was very certain. However, Ma Hao, the 3rd player, disappointed Wang Xiao. My savior, I give up. Ma Hao bowed to Feng Wu and ran off. Chuyan was speechless. Wang Xiao didn't know what to say. The rest of the crowd was equally silent. The 4th was Wang Zhe. He replicated what his teammates did and happily ran off the stage. He seemed so relieved. To say everybody was astonished was an understatement. For players had thanked Feng Wu, and Lan Xiefeng, their captain, was the only player left. Dynasty team looked at Lan Xiefeng expectantly. They thought he would do the same. Chuyan was furious. She had thought her team would win. She never thought they would lose. However, things had turned out quite the opposite. It was awful. Chu Yin looked at the girl on the stage. Feng Wu stood there in an indifferent manner, as if she deserved those players' thanks. Chu Yin couldn't believe it. She turned around and stared at Lan Xiefeng. If you give up, I'll make your life a living hell. Lan Xiefeng smiled bitterly. He only had two choices. He could let Feng Wu kill him, or Chu Yin would do it. Lan Xiefeng took a deep breath and walked onto the stage. He's here. The audience was so nervous, especially Yi Han, Sun Jingyu and the other students who knew Feng Wu well. I heard Lan Xiefeng is quite capable. He's good enough to go to the varsity team, but he didn't. Do you think he'll give up like the others? I hope so. They all hoped Lan Xiefeng would admit his defeat without fighting. However, they were taken by surprise. Lan Xiefeng walked up to Feng Wu and smiled bitterly. My savior, it's nice to see you again. Chapter 2835 Competition 10. Chapter 2835 Competition 10. His savior. Did you hear that? He called her his savior. Yi Han almost jumped to her feet. The last four players who had called Feng Wu that had all given up. Everybody stared at Lan Xiefeng with twinkling eyes. Feng Wu nodded with an expressionless face. Lan Xiefeng shook his head. I'm sorry about this. Ladies first. What? The audience let out surprised cries. Feng Wu was doomed. He didn't give up. Why did he want to fight her? Why wasn't he admitting defeat? What did I tell you? They did that on purpose. Wang Xiao smirked. The other four players gave up first to return the favor. Then their captain will defeat Feng Wu. You celebrated too early. We all knew how this would end. Nobody could respond. They all thought Lan Xiefeng was much better than Feng Wu. Chen Ziyan was the only one who knew the truth, but he wouldn't say anything. Even if Feng Wu loses, it's still much better than before, isn't it? Sun Yu snapped. They could have defeated all four of us with one player. Feng Wu eliminated four players, right? He was right, but the team members still wished they could win. They didn't dare watch the battle, because they didn't want to see their team lose. Right at that moment, thump, there was a loud noise. Something heavy landed on the ground. It was a person. Lan Xiefeng has crossed the line. Feng Wu is a girl and his savior. How could he fling her away like that? Everybody looked up to see how badly Feng Wu had been injured. What they saw were the astonished looks on the faces of Chu Yin, Gong Sunmu, and everybody else. Feng Wu was still on the stage. Her clothes were as neat as ever, and there wasn't a scratch on her. Who fell off the stage? Everybody looked in that direction. Somebody was lying on the ground. They saw his face. Lan Xiefeng. Captain Lan Xiefeng. He was thrown off the stage. It wasn't Feng Wu. What's going on? Am I seeing things? No, you saw correctly. Feng Wu kicked Lan Xiefeng, and he flew off the stage before falling on the ground. Everybody fell silent. They were trying to digest the information. Chu Yin jumped to her feet. That's not fair. She's cheating. She charged at Feng Wu and tried to grab her. Feng Wu smirked. If this woman wanted a battle, she would give her one. However, somebody blocked Chu Yin's way before Feng Wu could make a move. Gong Sunmu shielded Feng Wu behind him and blocked Chu Yin's attack. Thump, thump, thump. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.